Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys today on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram and Periscope? I am Laquita Momley, and I am coming to you today with a really good friend of mine. Her name is Miss Lisa Brown and Dear, and she's going to share some great information with us today. And we're going to be talking about different things as it pertains to the SBA and the federal government's relief for those of us that may be experiencing financial difficulty due to COVID-19. And so, without further ado, Lisa, if you could please introduce yourself to our audience today.
Okay, good afternoon. Again, she said my name, Lisa Brown Deer. I have wanted to come on. We've been talking about this for a while on how to involve small, micro sized businesses in the process. I work as a business analyst, business consultant now. Been a business analyst. I've been an executive controller and a consultant for the past 17 years working with multi-million dollar businesses. And as I see this coming up fast and furious, and I'm working with my larger clients, I, I, I can't help but see how the smaller businesses are going to be left without a seat at the table. And so we wanted to look at a few things or go over a few things today to make sure or to help assist some smaller sized businesses who may not have the accounting departments and the extra people to watch this, separate some fact from fiction.
Awesome, awesome. Today we were discussing, just a little bit about, some of the points we want to touch, and the title that for today's episode is really what are big businesses doing that small businesses aren't, and you kind of touched that a little bit there when you were giving your reasoning for wanting to come on live today, and actually you put out a Facebook post about 2 days ago now. And
Yes.
and that Facebook post was really, and I thought it was a blessing. And prayerfully, those small business owners and entrepreneurs that are connected to Lisa on Facebook will go to that post and take it seriously, because yes, we understand that these funds are now in the process of being released, and we as small business owners and entrepreneurs, we have the ability to apply for that. But just like you pointed out, medium-sized businesses and large businesses have entire accounting departments, CFOs, and different individuals that their sole purpose is to be watching these things and learning the ins and outs, what we can do, what we can't do, what documents need to be prepared, so on and so forth. And especially if you're a solopreneur, a mompreneur, you're a single entrepreneur, or you have a smaller staff where you can't dedicate man hours to these things, then having easy access to individuals that are subject matter experts is going to be absolutely key to those small business owners being able to access these funds and get the approvals that they need.
Correct, because you don't want your applications to be thrown out, and it's um, just amazing how much misinformation is out there that I see, especially that I'm not saying all, but I know a lot of smaller businesses, our barbershops, our people that are doing nursing work and CNA work, and just all of our small kind of things that we start up because it's something we love, our plumbers. And um, I don't know, a lot of us probably get our information from Facebook or from little blast. And it was alarming to me how much information was being reshared by people I know prepare some of these small business taxes, some of the small business owners, some of the smaller quasi consultants, leaders, and they were resharing information that was just not true, just not. It was half truths,
Mhm.
and I think they were sharing as facts. So it became concerning to me. I have several large clients that I'm working with now, so time is. I don't have an abundance of it, but it was really on my heart that let's not get left behind. And so that's typically what happens when things like this go on. let's face it, the people who made the laws and the people who are writing the policies and procedures are not living the lives that most of our audience is living. And so if you don't get the correct information and jump on this early, you will not get a piece of the pie.
You won't get a piece of the pie.
Won't.
That's an excellent point.
And not in time.
And not in
And not,
time, because it's not like these resources are endless. You know, people will look at the number and say, "Oh, it's trillions of dollars," but there are millions of Americans, and hundreds of thousands of companies that are going to be that are in desperate need of these funds, especially as small business owners and entrepreneurs. I know prior to these measures being passed, you know, there was a really big push across social media and through news outlets that communities at large should be out and supporting their local businesses as much as possible, because it's the local business, small businesses, that is truly going to keep the local economies going. And so we need to still be out there patronizing those businesses as much as possible. Yes, we're socially distancing, but, you know, having delivery, carry out, take out, you know, those things, as it pertains to restaurant industries in particular, if there is a way that we can continue to support the small businesses, being highly encouraged to continue to do that. Number one. And number two, again, just readdressing your post, you know, you made a very generous offer to those that are connected to you. The level of expertise that you have, you're offering that expertise to them and to help them understand what they need to be doing. You know,
right.
one of the keys to success as a business owner is our willingness to give back. And you have a very prestigious career across the past 17 years. You've worked as a senior analyst. You've worked as a senior consultant. You've worked as a senior executive and controller. And so this is your area of expertise. And you know, as you mentioned, you're right now as a consultant in a major firm, and your clientele, they're not making less than a few $1 million a year. And so for the small businesses that are in your community and those that are connected to you, they really should take a look at that post and reach out and say, okay, Lisa, help me understand the difference between the fact and the fiction. Where do I start? What do I need to bring to the table? And so I guess that's my first question for business owners that are saying, okay, I need to know what to do. What is the first step that they should be taking right now in preparing for the application process?
So the first step is they need to gather their financial documents. They need to gather their bank statements, their tax returns, the information that's on the tax returns, the information that's on the bank statement. If they're not, and that's the other issue, a lot of them don't are not doing running P&Ls. And so you need to start putting that together. What has your one of the main questions on how the funds are distributed and how much you'll get, and if you'll get anything, is how much you've taken in over the past 12 months and how much you had to spend out, what are your primary expenses over the last 12 months, not necessarily just from your fiscal year, which would have ended in December, because they're looking at the last 12 months through the end of January, and then how much you've lost since this started in the beginning of February. One of the criteria is if you need to have lost, and most of the businesses have, you need to have lost 50% of your income. And so you need to be able to see what you did each month over the last 12 months to be able to show that you actually in February and March had lost 50% of your revenue that normally comes in. So you need to gather your bank statements. If while the banks are still open, you need to either get access online to your online statements if you don't have an online login, or go ahead and call and ask them for a copy of your statements if you don't have them. Now, I almost know no banks that don't have online access, but I do know a lot of people who don't have online access to their accounts. Go ahead and get that set up today. Call them and get a login and password so you can access and get that information. Same thing if you're using credit cards. So you need to be able to show your income and expenses that are going in and out over the last 12 months. You need, if you have lease agreements, if you have equipment that you've purchased, vehicles that you've purchased, you need to know what the terms were when those were started, um, and how much longer, what your payments are on those things, what your tax payments are on your property taxes. If you have a lease, you need the terms on the lease. Just all your financial information, gather that and get it all in one place. It's important to try to gather all of those things and get them in one place, because when you go online to the SBA site, and we'll talk more about the different loans, but when you get ready to fill out these applications, every time you pause, you get further behind, right? There's millions and millions of people that are going on applying. So the website can only handle so many people at a time. It is a little bit slow. So if you have to stop and go look for information, you're already behind the gun. So gather all of your information together. Does that make sense on what I just said?
It does. It does. So basically, for small business owners, what I hear you saying is have all of your necessary financial documents ready before you sit down at your computer. And if you don't understand, so if you are one that you've been running your business, but maybe you haven't been using a bookkeeper monthly, or maybe you've been doing your own taxes, you need to understand that you've got to have that P&L is a profit and loss statement. So you need to show what money you're making, what money you're spending out, what's your income, what's your expenses. If you
Right.
are one that has equipment that you've had to either lease or purchase, that those lease agreements and purchase agreements, with those monthly payments that you're making, the interest rates on those, all of those things should be a part of your financials. And if it's not, then you need to be seen with an individual such as Lisa or someone else to help you get those documents together so that you can show a loss, because you have experienced a loss during COVID-19. More than likely, you've experienced a loss because, if for nothing else, because you've had to close your doors to be able to abide by the social distancing, which is necessary in order, for us to stay healthy. You also need to have those, at least what says those contracts. If it's a lease, those contracts, you need to see what was that original lease amount, what was that original purchase amount. Where are you at now in those in paying it off? What's the balance that's still remaining? So if you don't know off the top of your head, that's okay if you don't know off the top of your head, but you should have easy access to those documents so that when you get to that portion of the application, it's just a matter of you plug and play, pulling those numbers in.
Correct. And don't get overwhelmed. And this was the big concern, that one of the big concerns, you don't have that in one place, most likely. For the people that have reached out to me, you all have trusted your tax preparers way too much. You need to be able to understand your financials. And some of the tax preparers understand, and this is even a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it even in my larger companies. So don't feel like you should have something, because it's common. But CPAs and some of your tax preparers, and we encourage this, are always focused on, let's just get you a lot of money back. Doesn't necessarily make sure your information is plugged in right. So maybe this will be a wake-up call for us to make sure it's not just about getting money back. It's knowing if you actually made money and what you did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you may not have, you don't worry about if you don't know what a P&L is, and you don't understand when I say financial statement. Just get all of your documents together, and we can walk through it. The application can walk through it. Just as it asks those questions, get it. But you need to start spending a lot of time on your financials. So don't get scared because you don't know some of the terms, you don't have it, and let it turn you away from applying. We need you.
Okay, I think we've lost Lisa there for just a second. Maybe a little technical difficulty, internet issues. But one of the things that she was stressing in that moment is it doesn't really matter if you don't fully understand the terms that we're using today in terms of what the financial documents are. Reach out to someone that can help you better understand. And you probably have the documents, you just don't understand what it is and how to utilize it. So thanks, Lisa, for jumping back on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in Mississippi. We have a lot of people home, but I want to make sure that so we don't drag on and on that. Let's just talk about some of the things that are being offered in the different states.
Okay.
One immediately that most people have enough information to do is there's it's an economic interruption disaster loan by the SBA.
Okay.
It goes by the letters EIDL loan, and that loan is up to $2 million. It is a loan to cover working capital expenses. So if you don't have money coming in, you can't pay your mortgage or your rent or lease. You can't pay your utilities. You can't pay all of those other just everyday expenses that still come regardless if you've got money going in or not, right? Those have to be paid. So that's what the EIDL, that's your disaster loan. That was the first one that was approved by the first Corona relief bill.
Okay.
What they've recently added, and each state had to certify. So I think almost all of the states have certified with SBA and certified and said that they are a disaster area.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about that loan is there is a $10,000 up to $10,000 emergency fund advance on that loan. And so what that means is they'll get the basic information, a very abbreviated application, so you can immediately get funding in. And the information just asks for if you just gather all the documents I just told you, you can at least get through that first part by yourself. It's asking you what your 12-month income is, what your 12-month expenses are, and then some of your personal information, and then it will and your bank account information, and then you get in line for that. Now, the turnaround time on that loan when we first started applying was like 2 days, 3 days. I mean, some 24 hours. And that allow you to, even if that loan is not approved, you are very likely to still get the grant if your information is accurate, right? Okay. Or to get the advance. So the advance, it's an advance on a loan that we're anticipating. Right? Okay. And so when you do the final application and the final application is not approved, you don't have to pay back the advance.
Okay.
So if something comes up and that final application is not approved, you don't have to pay back the advance. The other interesting thing about that loan is administered from SBA specifically. And the advance is entered through. So you cannot apply anywhere else for it besides the SBA.gov site. You have to go to that site, or somebody has to go to that site. They're administering that money directly. SBA doesn't often do that, but on this one they are, and that's the EDIL loan in advance.
So let me put that out there. EDIL,
economic interruption disaster loan.
Okay. And so on this one, basically, if I just recap to make sure we're fully understanding on this loan and through the process, the initial process of applying, you could, not 100% guarantee, but you could qualify for that $10,000 up front. that could potentially be deposited into your account within 3 business days. Now,
Correct.
and that money's, if you do qualify for that portion, even if you get denied for the bigger, the total amount that you've applied for, if you get denied, that $10,000 is still under a grant that you don't have to pay back, or am I misunderstanding that?
It's forgiven.
It's forgiven.
It's
Okay.
They will forgive the amount of the advance if you don't get the bigger loan. Now, the first payback, the interest rate on that loan currently is a maximum of 3.5%.
Okay.
It is not, the first payment is not going to be due until a minimum 12 months. And it does need to be used for working capital.
Okay. And now, for those that might not understand that, when you use the term working capital, could you define that out a little bit?
To keep your doors open. So that would be to pay your bills. You can't go out and buy new equipment or cars or anything like that with it. You have to use it to pay your bills, and you have to prove that you paid your bills with that. So it's not to buy new pieces of equipment or to expand or anything like that.
Okay, so with this up to 10,000 that can be forgiven, that can only be used as working capital to keep the doors of your business open.
Right. The advance is 10,000. The actual loan, depending on depending on the size of your business and your loss of income, can be up to $2 million.
Okay.
But you can start right away by getting something in the because let's face it, most of the businesses of the size that we're probably talking to don't have 2 or 3 months or a month or 2 or 3 weeks of money to pay bills.
Right.
And so you need that money to survive right now.
Right. And so
they can get on and go to SBA.gov and go look for the EIDL loan and then apply for the advance. I'm getting off of one and go.
Yes, I can. So we have a viewer that's asking a question. The viewer wants to know, what if it's a new business? So what if you were a new business and you were just getting good and started, and COVID-19 was the thing that you had no idea to plan for?
How new?
Okay. Let me put that out there and see if she's going to give me a response. How new is the business?
And I'll start answering it. I'll try to answer her question specifically. But if you were operating as of January 31st, then you do still qualify.
Okay.
You are up and running.
Okay.
And can prove you had some income. You had incorporated, you have bank statements that have the business name, there's income showing in there, then you do qualify.
Okay.
In how new, it just depends on how many months. If you had 12 months, if you only had 3 months, that will depend on how much they will approve for you under this particular loan.
Okay.
There's another loan as well. There's another loan program as well. There's the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay.
Now, the Paycheck Protection Program is guaranteed by the SBA, but it's not administered through the SBA. And what that means is a SBA approved lender is going to give the loan for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay. So when you say that, an SBA lender, so again, an SBA lender is not, every bank is not an SBA lender. Every credit union is not an SBA lender.
Correct.
Not every financial institution is. So in order to, you'll apply for that one, but in order to get, okay, so let me back up. In order to apply for that one, do we need to be able to apply at a lending institution that is an SBA lending partner?
Correct. That is absolutely correct. That is what you have to apply there. Now, this is where I'm afraid some of our people will get scammed. Because, and the reason it's really important, and you stop me if you reiterate what I said so that we make sure this is clear.
Okay.
If it's an SBA lender and they use this Paycheck Protection Program correctly, which is using it to pay, using 75% of the money that you get to pay people who work for you, then this is a forgivable loan.
Okay.
If you get a loan that they present to you as a paycheck protection, they'll spit a word in it. It'll say paycheck payback, loan program. That's not this SBA loan, but they may not explain to you that this is not the SBA loan and use some deceptive titling.
Okay.
That's what we often see in our communities, right? We see people that start giving us deceptive titling and it's not the same thing. Then it won't be forgivable. The SBA, you're going to have to pay that money back.
Okay.
So you need to ask, are you an SBA certified lender? Right?
Yes.
And specifically, and make them prove it to you, because I made several calls in our community this morning and I was kind of disappointed that we don't have many. And the one that said that they were, is not taking applications.
Okay.
And then they said something that was concerning to me. Then they said, well, we're just taking email addresses and phone numbers and we're calling everybody back. I'm questioning if you're even, I said, are you sure you certified? Because if you certified, then you'd already have the portal link, and they said their link wasn't open yet.
Okay. So I think that's a really good point. That's an excellent point for those that are actually out, in bigger metropolitan cities, it's easier access. But for those that are in more small town America, midtown America, rural areas, what are the things that they should be looking for, or how should they even begin their search to find an SBA certified lender so that they can begin the process to apply for this particular loan? Because this is the one that is mostly being talked about across social media.
Right. This is the one. Yeah. Right. This is the one that's going to be forgiven. And this is a big application. This is not easy. This is not one of those 2 or 3 page applications like the other one. Okay. So for me, with my clients, what I'm doing, and sometimes you're not going to use your bank that you use. Might not be able to use your bank that you use. Go to the bank's website. First of all, make sure the bank has a website or the credit union has a website, and look for SBA certified lender. They're going to have the SBA logo on their account. They really would already have to have been an SBA lender to have gotten certified. It's going to be on their website somewhere.
Okay.
Under business. To make sure that they are. The reality is, and you're getting this too, and I hate to say it, but go to a big one. Go to Bank of America, go to Chase, go to Wells Fargo. That's probably going to be your best bet, because they're going to be able to take applications online. They have this loan, if you fill out the application, is just about guaranteed, because there's no collateral requirement. There's no personal guarantee. It's 100% backed by SBA. So if you use it properly, you're going to be, we having bad hair days because, nobody can go outside.
I know.
If you use it properly and spend it the way it's supposed to be spent, and that's to pay your employees to keep them off of unemployment, then the SBA is going to pay the bank back. So these banks have no incentive not to give it to you. It's a win-win for them. So here.
No, my next question was, on the SBA site, or if you have a local SBA representative in your area, or you know how to access an SBA representative from your area, do they have a working list of lenders that are already certified, that say in your state, in your area, whether it's in your state, or whether it's within a certain mile radius of where your zip code is?
I did not find a good one, and I'm on the SBA site. I didn't find one that was easily found.
Okay.
Not one that was up to date. Like the one that I did find was from 2018.
Okay.
And it basically just showed who had given out, and it had, so pick your bank. Bank America is sending out stuff. Look at some of your larger banks if you have some in the area, but even the larger banks in our area, so there's a Trustmart here. And although Trustmart Bank is a SBA bank, not all Trustmarts are SBA lenders.
So you have to go to the one.
It has to be to the branch. Right. Now, this should be an application that you never have to go into the bank to fill out. This is an application that you could fill out online. And on some of these bigger banks, that's what I'm seeing. You're going to their website. And I'm no fan of Bank America, trust me. But you go to their website and you fill it out there, and you submit all your documents there.
We do our business banking through Bank of America, and so if you are a Bank of America customer, you should see that like all over your everything when you log in online on the app on your device. And I'm not advocating for Bank of America. I just happen to know it's true because they do hold some of our accounts, and they do have that information easily accessible. But for those who don't have Bank of America, or there's not a Bank of America in your area, I know for us here in Central Texas area, in Killeen specifically, we have the Small Business Resource Center that is in partnership with our local Chamber of Commerce here in Killeen, with the Killeen Chamber of Commerce, and it's in our Workforce Center. But they have been putting out excellent information across their social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. I'm not sure if they are, I don't follow them on Twitter, so I don't know if they have a Twitter account, but I do know Instagram and I do know Facebook, that they've been putting great information out there for our local small business owners to reach out to them. Though the doors, you can't go in the building, they are still very much active and trying to actively support the small business community here in our area with assistance on these programs, to understand the programs, to see which one you qualify for, and to work with you through the application process. So wherever you are and you're watching this broadcast, reach out to your local Chamber of Commerce, see if they can help, or if they can point you in the right direction, especially correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but it's called the Economic Development Department, a part of.
Some of them have, chamber, it's different everywhere. Like we have a Chamber of Commerce and an Economic Development, separate entities. Some have them together, so it just depends on your community. Even this is a quick sidebar. Y'all network with professional people and professional organizations. Go to these things and get on their mailing list, and make sure that that's where you're getting the information from other people that are running businesses, even if they're bigger than you, because that's what I see kind of lacking, that we get in the really small businesses. You get so tied up in your day-to-day widget making that you don't take time for the business of the business, and you suffer because you're not prepared when these come up. There's several more SBA loans, but I just really didn't want to overwhelm people. I wanted to talk about these two because these are most likely the ones that you qualify for.
Okay.
If someone out there is fortunate enough to have an SBA loan already, there are some bridge programs and some debt relief that if they send in questions, I can answer for them. But if you already have an SBA loan, there's a lot of other programs through SBA to defer, take over payments, and things like that.
Okay. So with these two programs, the absolute essential thing that the entrepreneur, the business owner needs to do is, number one, make sure you have all relevant financial documents in hand. So if you were going to go apply for a loan for your business, for anything else, those documents that you would take with you. If you're saying, Laquita, I've never had to apply for a loan for my business. I bootstrapped this thing from day one, and now this COVID-19 situation has thrown me for a loop. So I don't know what you're talking about. That's okay. Right. That's okay, because many of us have bootstrapped it until this point. And that's great. If you've been able to do that, that's absolutely fabulous. So if you have those questions, you need to, as like Lisa said, need to be networking with individuals in the business community in your area so that you can know what to do. And again, I just applaud Lisa so much for offering her services to those in her area, those that are willing to reach out to her so that she can advise. I didn't say she was going to do it for you, but so she can advise.
I'll walk you through some of the things that they're lost, because like I said, I'm very afraid that the money is there. We didn't have a seat at the table, and the process is a bit overwhelming for many. I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know if it's working the way I want it to work.
Okay.
But see if this works.
All right, I see it. Pull it up. Yep, I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay. So this is just kind of the application process. I just wanted to just throw it out there. It's not overwhelming, but what I'm afraid of is that we just will hide. We'll go out of business and say, "Oh God, it was bad luck." These, while we qualify for this, we didn't have a seat at the table. For when the government says small business, that's 8 to 50. That's a lot of times $8 million and under. In some industries, the industry that I'm working with right now is 50 million is considered a small business. I mean, when
average Americans don't understand what that term means. You're thinking, we say small business, you're thinking we're talking about mom and pops, and that's not actually what the federal government is talking about.
No, they're talking about $50 million. So while my mom and pop qualify for it, this was not designed for my mom and pop to take advantage of it. Now, what I want you to do is take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So that our community still survives. Our community survives this as well, along with the larger companies. We don't want to get pushed out.
Right. We want small businesses, local mom and pop businesses, to be able to absolutely take advantage of the resources that have been presented, and so that we can keep our doors open, so that we can still function in the community.
Right. Be willing to read, be willing to spend, if the app, I see some and they're like, oh, that application took 2 hours. That's not worth it. Oh, yes, it is. It is definitely worth it. Don't assume that the person that did your taxes has a clue about what's going on.
Exactly.
I'm just you can't assume it, because a lot of them are just small businesses too, and they focus and they're not trained to do that. They're not trained to focus on the business side. They're trained to focus on the tax side of it, and this is kind of two separate things. If you have, let me just throw this out here though, also, if you're a small business that has employees, pay close attention to the 941s. There's a lot of rumors as well about whether you have to pay 941s or not. There are some very strict guidelines on what if you don't do or don't pay 941s, and you
take a second real quick and just tell us what that 941 is again. Because like I said at the top of the broadcast, many of us, we totally rely on our tax preparers in this area. And so we might not some of us might not understand necessarily what those documents are.
Okay. So your 941 and your is if you have employees that are W-2 employees, you're withholding taxes from them. Mm-hmm. And you submit those taxes on a quarterly basis. And the form that you use is called a 941.
Okay.
The form that you use is called a 941. So, and you write your check and you send in your money with that. If there's certain situations where, depending on what you're doing with your employees, trying to keep them on, have to pay sick leave, that you don't have to submit those 941s.
Okay.
And so you have to make sure you follow those guidelines. Some people, I've seen broadly that you don't have to pay it. That's not true. And they will come after you. So make sure that those guidelines are looked up and followed. And they're detailed. They're several dozen pages. So I don't want to go into that there, but just don't blindly just say, oh, we don't have to pay any payroll taxes. That is not what was said.
Right. So in this, when you're going out to the SBA website and you're looking at this information, make sure that you're reading through the applications thoroughly. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, make sure you get with the professional that does. And again, and it's not taking away from our bookkeepers or anything like that, because this is all new. As we hear so much on the news, everything is fluid. This is all very new, and so give the professionals enough time to read up on it, to understand how to help you. But you need to be reaching out to them so that they can. And if you're saying, okay, my person has already told me they don't understand, then again, individuals such as Lisa have been making themselves available that do understand this paperwork and do understand this process. Reach out to them so that they can walk you through and help you understand the process as you're completing the application, and look for the entities that you need to network with. Again, start with your local chamber of commerce. If you have a small business resource center in your community, reach out to them. I know we do here in Killeen, and I do know that they're putting information out continuously on how to apply, and they're helping individuals understand this process. This part, the money is out there. Now it's up to us as business owners to do the due diligence that's necessary in order to access the finance, access the money, and to learn what we do have to pay back and what we don't have to pay back, what we do qualify for and what we don't qualify for.
There are not any grants out there for small businesses. Let me just say that. Those grants do not apply to people running day-to-day operations. There's never any grants at SBA. People always say, I'm going to this certification to get a grant, and I think I can get a grant. SBA does not give grants to small businesses. What SBA does do in times like these is they create loans that if you follow the guidelines of the loan, mm-hmm. they become forgivable.
Okay. So, and the key is if you follow the guidelines.
You have to follow the guidelines.
You have to follow the guidelines. So in order to follow the guidelines, you need to know what they are up front. You need to make sure you're understanding it throughout the application process. So when you do receive those funds, then you make sure that what you are spending the money on follows the guidelines. Just because it seems right doesn't mean it is right. That where you're spending that money is following the guidelines of which the SBA has laid out in order to, at the back end, make this thing forgivable.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Now, Lisa, for those that might not know, can you tell people how that they can email you or contact you if they have any questions and if they want you to explain anything to them?
Look at your phone. You can go to, I'm on Facebook. It's Lisa Brown Deer on Facebook. You can message me. You can also email me at lbrown, BROWN 70001 at AOL.com.
Okay. I just went ahead and put that in the comments there for those that might be interested in connecting with Lisa to ask her any additional questions. And again, reach out, depending on where you are, reach out to your local entities that this is what they are designed to do to help the small business owners, your local chamber of commerce, your local economic development entities there that may or may not be connected with your chamber of commerce. Look out for your small business resource center. If you're an entrepreneur and you've been networking, or you are networking, I'm sure that in some of your networking groups, this has been a hot button topic, a topic of conversation. Reach out and find out how you can learn more about what these programs are, how to access these programs, and most importantly, understanding the programs. We have to understand them throughout the application process.
Right. And there's different things that each state is also offering. And so I know we have a global audience. I know we have a global audience, so I won't go state by state, but each state is offering additional things too. So just double check if you've applied for something with the state. So a lot of times it's coming out the same economic relief bill. Mm-hmm. So there's no double dipping there. So you want to make a point.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So if you apply for something through unemployment and then you apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, you can't do both. So you got to do the other. Yeah. Some states did some early triage, trying to make sure that their businesses were surviving before the federal government acted. So there's some things that are out there as well.
That's a really good point about making sure that you know where the pot of money is coming from for what you're applying for, because you don't want to double dip. And when you're looking through that application process, you actually, okay, so if what I'm applying for is coming from that same pot of money, I want to make sure that I'm applying for the one that's going to be the best benefit to my company at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And just know what's out there so you can ask questions. We were talking about banks, and I prefer banks, but you do have some small, they call them micro lenders. Mm-hmm. You know, part of them?
Yeah.
And some of them are phenomenal, and some of them are going to do what's in it for them. We talked about this earlier too. Mm-hmm. And they may not necessarily explain all of the different ones. They might do the easiest one for them. Mm-hmm. So, you got to read. I'm big about hashtag read beyond the headlines.
Yes.
Look at the fine print.
Yes.
And know a little bit about what's out there and available. And that's what we were just trying to do today, and what I'm trying to do in my local community. Just answer. I'm not trying to take it on. I'm making most of them do their own application. But I know a lot of people just needed that extra push and that extra support and didn't know where to start.
Right. The biggest obstacle is truly getting started. And once you get started, knowing that you have a resource available. So if I get stuck, can you walk me through this stuck point? Again, right. The services that you've offered, your consultation services, being able to have access to an individual such as yourself to get those consultation services for free is a blessing. And so small businesses in the Pike County area, I highly recommend that you reach out to Lisa and glean from her, tap into her. She's an excellent resource. The questions that you have, she's able to answer them, even some questions that you didn't know that you had through this process. Get with her, ask those questions, let her help point you in the right direction so that you can, again, get access to the funds that you need to get access to so that your doors can remain open. Through all of this, we know that at the end of the day, business owners, especially those of us that have employees and even ones that don't. Nobody wants to send an employee home. You know, you want to be able to pay your employee. You want to be able to meet your financial obligations. And something like this just isn't something that anybody could have thought of to prepare for. And on many levels, you know, no matter what the size of your business is. And so now, again, the give back to the community is here are individuals like Lisa. And again, I know several other individuals, and throughout the course of next week, we'll have more individuals on that'll be talking about this topic and similar topics to help each other get through this COVID-19 crisis so that we can keep our doors open. Understanding where the money's coming from, understanding how to get the money, and understanding the application process and what we need to do to get through the application process. Those are the three things that we've addressed today. And those are the three things that we'll continue to address across the course of next week. So continue to tune in, set your notifications so that when I do come on live, you will get that notification. Like, share, and follow this broadcast, whether it's on Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. You'll see that we'll be having these broadcasts coming up. I try to schedule them in advance to give people an opportunity to mark that time on their calendars so that you can tune in. And also, once this broadcast is over, we still do answer the comments. We still do respond to the comments. So if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. If I know the answer, I will put the answer there. If I don't know, Lisa will put the answer there. Somebody will address that and be able to point you in the right direction. You know, if we did have a couple of questions came through today. Thank you guys so much for those questions. And Lisa, without anything else, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up for today?
No, and this is a fluid process. There's finding flaws in it. They're changing it. Just be patient with yourself. You can do this. You can get through this. And you know, you started your business for a reason. Don't let it die because you didn't know exactly what to ask. Ask for help. Stay focused. Stay strong. Well, this too shall pass.
Amen. This too shall pass. You know, I love what you said there. Do not allow the doors of your business to close simply because there was some issue. You had some points where you didn't understand when you were trying to access the capital that you needed to access. Don't let that be the reason. Reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. I can't say that enough. Reach out. There are tons of people who are willing to help, but you have to be able to reach out. We can't help you if we don't know you need the help. So reach out to get the help that you need. Awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you again for joining us. We're going to try to get you back on again soon before they whisk you away to your next assignment, Carmen Sandiego. You're all over the country. This is a sister that is in high demand all over the country because, I mean, she's great at what she does. And she does it very, very well. You know, some of if you could really quickly so that the people will like, oh, well, who is this chick? I haven't heard her say who she is yet. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and what you're bringing to the table and why you are a subject matter expert on this?
Okay, so again, I'm a business analyst. Currently, I'm a business analyst. I represent several multi-million-dollar companies that do business consulting, tax consulting. Currently, the company that I represent I think they do $250 million a year. I am contracted out to companies as a consultant that are doing a range between $5 and $10 million a year. And so we restructure their businesses, make sure they have working capital. We do management training, just reevaluate how they're doing business, marketing. Of course, right now, everybody's in contingency plan, survival mode. So a lot of our attention has switched to the COVID response and keeping those businesses solvent. I guess the reason is because because this is what I do all over the country, I am being flooded with information from these economic development, from our legal team, because we have a whole team of lawyers that just pour over the bill from a tax standpoint as well as from a management standpoint. And so I am flooded with the legal analytics and evaluations of the bill and how to implement them. My businesses that are under $1 million, $500,000, $100,000, $50,000, you don't get that information. And so, or the detail, I mean, like the Paycheck Protection Program is 145 pages. None of the smaller businesses are going to read that. And so, because that information is coming to me for my larger clients, I can probably share some of that to weed through to the small. And I've ran a small business, had a couple of small businesses. I know the challenges that the small or micro-sized businesses are going to face when it's just you and 3 or 4 employees in trying to decipher between all of the things that are coming at you.
Yeah. Great. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, a wealth of knowledge there. She has access to the information that we as small business owners don't necessarily get the access to. And she is better able to understand what, that information that she's given and being able to break it down to us in a way that not only can we understand it, but we understand it and can properly implement it ourselves so that we can get access to the capital that we need to get access to. Again, thank you so much, Lisa. It has been a pleasure having you on. Before they whisk you off to go help another big business, we're going to try to have you on again. Just to reiterate what we've talked about today, and even to address any new changes that are going to come up, because like you said, it's a very fluid situation and things are changing moment by moment with these things. So we will have you on again to glean from you, get some more wisdom from you, and to be able to help our small business community. So until next time, I'm Laquita Monley, and I look forward to speaking to you guys again real soon. Have a great day.